What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to my crypto journey. Today we have the Certik audit for MONONOKE INU. So we're going to go through that, touch on some of their wins, and overall it was a really good audit. But there were some issues, and we're going to talk about those. But most of all, it was a good audit. We're glad that they got it done because Certik audit is probably the gold standard for audits, pretty much, right? After we go over the audit, we're going to go into some news and talk about what I think MONONOKE INU should really focus on to really get the price back up and really get the crowd going, because we're past 50,000 holders. We're only growing, but the price isn't seeing much of a movement. So after the audit, we're going to go over that. So stay tuned. Let's check out the audit. You can go ahead and check it out right here. It's a PDF form. I went ahead and just opened the PDF form. Here's a breakdown right here, some of the findings. So seven total issues, only 4 discussional, which is good, 2 minor, 1 major, and 0 critical or 0 medium, which is good, right? You don't want any criticals. And the 1 major issue was resolved, so that's cool. So pretty much we're gonna go down here to the first issue was one of the major issues, and pretty much it was called centralized privilege, which pretty much means like one person. It says the owner in the contract, MONONOKE INU, the role owner has the authority over the following functions. So it's a lot of functions that you can do a lot really with the coin and the whole contract and whatnot. And they said that any compromise to the privileged account, which has access to _owner, may allow the hacker to take advantage of this. So if someone were to take advantage, of the privileged account of the owner, they could take advantage of a lot of things going on in the MONONOKE INU contract. Pretty much was what they're saying. They're saying there's not enough security. This person has too much power. What should we do? And so the recommendation was, we advise the client to carefully manage the privileged account's private key to avoid any potential risk of being hacked. Right? So don't be careless with your private key, right? To your passwords and stuff like that. And I would recommend people out there, if you have any sort of wallet, that you do the most when it comes to protecting your wallet. Like if you have to set 3 verifications, do it. It's worth it, to not get your coin stolen, right? They say, in general, we strongly recommend centralized privileges or roles in the protocol to be improved via a decentralized mechanism or a smart contract-based account, which enhance security practices, e.g. multi-signature wallet. So they recommend that they get a multi-signature wallet to really protect it, right? Indicatively, here are some feasible suggestions that would also mitigate the potential risk at different levels in terms of short and long term. So they want you to time lock with reasonable latency, e.g. 48 hours, for awareness on privileged operations, assignment of privilege roles to multi-signature wallet to prevent a single point of failure due to the private key, introduction of a DAO, governance voting module to increase transparency and user involvement. And so that was the recommendations. Well, what happened was, what was MONONOKE INU's response? The owner of the contract is renounced, so no function can be called anymore. So they pretty much took that power out of their hands. So that's pretty cool. They resolved that issue, and that's good for MONONOKE INU. And that was pretty much their only major issue. So we're gonna go to the second one, which is a minor issue. And they talk about third-party dependencies. So the contract is so this is the description. The contract is serving as an underlying entity to interact with third-party Uniswap protocol. So Uniswap, right? The scope of audit treats third-party entities as black boxes and assumes their functional correctness, right? Pretty much they're saying like, hey, pretty much a lot of the coins out there deal with Uniswap, and we're assuming that they're functionally correct, right? However, in the real world, third parties can be compromised, and this may lead to lost or stolen assets. And we know about this, right? A lot of third-party assets can be compromised. A lot of people can swipe your coins by sending you things, by using fake websites and those sorts of things. They say, in addition, upgrades of third-party parties can possibly create severe impacts, such as increasing fees of third parties, migration to new LP pools, etc. So pretty much this is a Uniswap problem, right? They talk about third parties and whatnot. Believe it or not, guys, Certik doesn't just deal with coins that are just on Uniswap. They deal with a lot of different coins, right? So I think in general, Uniswap is kind of like free for all, right? It's the most used decentralized exchange. And it's subject to a lot of like hacks and attacks and those sorts of things. And so they're pretty much just pointing that out, right? I'm pretty sure this is a violation code and a minor issue in every audit they do that uses Uniswap. I feel like they just have to add it. So they said their recommendation was, we encourage the team to constantly monitor the status of third parties to mitigate the side effects when unexpected activities are observed. So, hey, if something's going on with Uniswap, like, hey, we should probably let our user base know if something shady is going on. Because as far as I know, I think besides LBank, Uniswap is probably the only third party that they use right now. The alleviation. So what are they going to do? The response. Here's the team. We will constantly monitor if there are any issues with Uniswap. No effect to our contract or token. So that's cool. They want to monitor that, right? Which is like a given, right? The next one is called potential sandwich attack. So logical issue, it's a minor issue, right? And it's acknowledged. So description is a sandwich attack might happen when an attacker observes a transaction swapping tokens or adding liquidity without setting restrictions on slippage or minimum output amount. So a person observing someone swapping their tokens pretty much without restricting the slippage. So that's why slippage is important. I always say, like, make sure you do like the least amount of slippage possible before doing a transaction. Like I do like 0.5. And if it doesn't work, then I go to 1.0. If it doesn't work, I go to 1. Like I do it all the way up to like 20%. I know it's kind of tedious and kind of crazy. And sometimes I just go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then up to 20% if I have to go that high for some tokens. But you guys just have to make sure you're not putting too much slippage, because it says right here, the attacker can manipulate the exchange rate by front running before the transaction being attacked, a transaction to purchase one of the assets and make profits by back running after the transaction has been attacked, a transaction to sell the asset. So they can manipulate your sale kind of, right? The following functions are called without setting restrictions on slippage or minimum output amount. So transactions triggering these functions are vulnerable to sandwich attack, especially when the output amount is large. So just make sure you're doing the proper slippage amount, and you're being really careful with that, and you're paying attention to the output, right? Their recommendation was, we recommend setting reasonable minimum output amounts instead of 0 based on tokens prices when calling an aforementioned function. So to alleviate that, the team says, we constantly inform the community to use the correct slippage and method, add 0.00 at the end of the amount to avoid that, right? Pretty much saying, hey, make sure you find the appropriate slippage. To me, it's the least as possible. And if you add 0.00 at the end of the amount, usually your transactions go through pretty smoothly. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. Uniswap kind of sucks, then you get the fees and all that stuff, but here are some of the minimum things you can do. And we can go look at some of those other ones, but it's not really necessary. So let's get into some news. Overall, a really good Certik audit. So wasn't bad, good for them. The only issues were like, hey, like get all this, pretty much the owner of it or whoever controlled that account or whatever, pretty much they need to safeguard their account and make sure that it's not vulnerable to hacks, because that one account getting hacked can really affect the entire coin as a whole. So pretty cool. All right, so let's go to some news. Not much news going on really. L Bank's talking about it and whatnot. This guy says, here we go, load up on coins, thank me later. So this person's really getting hyped about it. Big things coming from MONONOKE INU. So here's what I think they need to do, right? They released a Certik Audit. That's good. That gives us a layer of safety and some confidence in the actual token. They need to start releasing more game footage in beta play, right? Maybe some new NFTs. They need to release like a little, maybe even one level or half a level for us to play. Or just more footage. I know the game's not ready, but I feel like in order to affect the price, because we're kind of consolidating right here, guys. Look at like the price action like this. Like people don't like this price action, and here's what happened, right? People don't like this price action right here, but I feel like it's consolidating a little bit, right? We're down at the levels we were pretty much, October 24th ish, right? This is peak media, guys. This is peak promotion on top YouTubers' channels. You have to understand, guys, that when coins get up here, that's because they're going on an insane promotional campaign. Nothing fundamentally has changed about their coin, right? Whales buy, whales sell. People follow that trend, right? Because whales control our emotion, right? But it's starting to consolidate down here. And that's a good thing. You can't be scared of consolidation, because if we have a steady price that's not too crazy, it's been trading between like 17 and like 20 the last like few days, since like the 9th, right? If you get this steady consolidation, I think that's very good for a token. I think it's a bullish sign to me, and it shows like some sort of consistency. So don't be fearful for the fact that the peak media is gone. A lot of people bought at the top and those sorts of things. I think you just gotta look at it objectively and say, hey, it's a game. They want to come out with a game. Is the game going to be good? You know what I mean? At least they got the Certik audit done. They cared enough about to get that audit done. It's expensive, it's time consuming, but it's worth it if you want to protect your token. They need to release more. They need to have more news, right? I know Certik is nice, right? But people want to see gameplay. We want to see what this game is about. We want to play the game, How about another idea is that, how about you go and do a interview, dox yourself? People like that. People like when, a lot of these coins go and dox themselves. They would have their liquidity locked. They would have the Certik audit. And the last thing is they would dox themselves. If they go do an interview on a big YouTuber's YouTube or come on my YouTube. I know I'm small, but they can go do an interview somewhere, or maybe a Twitter live or whatever. I think that would really help them. It would get the people fired up because they like those sort of thing, and maybe it can answer some questions, face to face. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, guys. I'm pretty excited for MONONOKE INU. I think it's going to be okay. It's cool that they got this audit out, but if they just release some gameplay or let us play the game and dox themselves, I think that would really drive up the price and get the user base hyped. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.